Welcome back to Hannity. So over the weekend, another example of the left's very disrespectful rhetoric towards Republican female candidates this election cycle was brought to light. Now, this time it came from retiring Democratic Senator Tom Harkin of Iowa, and he took aim at the Republican woman that is running to replace him, Joni Ernst. Take a look at this.
I heard someone say, well, Joni Ernst, she's really attractive. And she sounds nice. I don't care if she's as good looking as Taylor Swift or as nice as Mr. Rogers. But if she votes like Michelle Bachmann, she's wrong for the state of Iowa.
And earlier today, Ernst, a combat veteran and a mom, was on Fox and Friends responding. Take a look at this.
I was very offended that Senator Harkin would say that. I think it's unfortunate that he and many of their party believe that you can't be a real woman if you're conservative and you're female. If my name had been John Ernst attached to my resume, Senator Harkin would not have said those things.
Here with reaction are Larry Sabato from the University of Virginia Center for Politics, the pollster, the one and only Frank Luntz, outnumbered. Co-host, our friend Andrea Tantaros, is with us. All right, what was your I can't believe that, and you got this other guy using the word whore and laughing about it, about Nikki Haley?
It is so stupid. You remember when Kirsten Gillibrand, the senator from New York, was talking about how these older senators make comments about her weight, and she got a ton of press. I mean, Sean, the media was all over this. The media is barely touching this one. And it was like Tom Harkin would have said that in the senator's lounge to some of the older senators, like he's so out of touch. And he made the Taylor Swift reference, right, that she's cute like Taylor Swift.
She's attractive.
Like if Joni were standing in front of her, he would have patted her on the head, almost saying, little girl, you're very cute and you're nice, but there's no brain in there. And what Joni Ernst should have said is, it's like you can't have a brain in politics, you can't be conservative, you also can't be attractive.
Let's talk about the mistakes in this campaign. Those two mistakes that we just talked about. Mary Landrieu basically saying her state is racist and sexist. Michelle Nunn, in a debate last night, wouldn't say whether she would have voted for Obamacare. Nobody wants to admit that they would have voted or they did vote for Obama. Those are pretty big.
But what do they all have in common? The Republican has taken a lead in all three states. There's desperation there. Now, my job is to understand how voters react to things like this and to watch the modeling. In Iowa, even though there's a good Democratic turnout in this early election voting, I believe Joni Ernst wins because her advertising campaign was much superior. She spoke about the issues, and she did so in a bright way, in an uplifting way rather than negative. In Louisiana, Mary Landrieu is going to win tomorrow night, but she's not going to win by nearly enough to win the runoff in December. And then Michelle Nunn.
Because you have two Republicans in that race and one Democrat, and look at those two numbers combined. That's the number we're looking at. 5 points.
She's down 5 points, and every week she seems to be falling another point. And in Georgia, once again, the advertising campaign. Michelle Nunn had an advantage for about a week when she was focused on David Perdue's outsourcing. But when it came back to her and how she would vote, then you watch the numbers collapse for her.
Yeah, pretty interesting. All right, Larry Sabato, I have here Sabato's crystal ball. You have released just earlier today your predictions. Tell us what you got.
Yes, we actually just called the final 9 races. We'd called the other 498 sometimes months in advance. But essentially, we've said consistently that we thought the Republicans would get 51 to 53 seats in the Senate. We've now settled on 53. That does include the runoff in Louisiana and the possible runoff in Georgia. It does not include North Carolina and New Hampshire. We still have them leaning to the Democrats, but it's awfully close. Don't be surprised if there's an upset in one or both of those states. Now,
yeah, so you
also,
have Cory Gardner, you have the Republicans picking up Colorado, Alaska, Iowa, Arkansas, Louisiana.
Yeah, and of course the 3 gimmies, West Virginia, South Dakota, and Montana. And look, that's a lot of seats in 1 year. That's a pretty big pickup to go from 55 Democrats to 53 Republicans. And, you know, plus or minus 1 or 2, you know how these things go.
Sure.
But it's difficult to see how the Democrats hold on.
All right, I'm going to hold my fire till the end of the show. I'm going to go to the Hannity big board and give my predictions later in the program. Andrew, what do you got?
Oh, I definitely think Republicans take the Senate, no question. I don't think they should get too overconfident. As Frank was mentioning, turnout at this point is everything. But I do think at the end of this will tell a story about how Democrats tried an old playbook with the war on women in certain states like Colorado, and I think it will show that it fell flat on its face,
Yeah.
which is pretty
Give me a
incredible.
number. What do you got?
53.
Frank?
I think it's going to be 52, but we're forgetting the House races. All the House Republicans need is an increase of 9 seats, and they get a higher majority than they have won since 1946, which is about the time that Pat Roberts was born. So I think it's actually likely, and that will be very helpful to them as they work with the Senate to try to get legislation through.
Yeah.
Guys, good to see you. We'll be watching. By the way, you can watch Andrea tomorrow night, and she is hosting a special event from 9 to 11 p.m. online, and you can catch her at foxnews.com/strategy.
Not just
room.
me. A lot of Fox News stars
people
will be there. Harris Faulkner, Jesse Waters, and others. Make sure to tune in.
And she'll be covering the election tomorrow night with a bunch of other big-name Fox News hosts. And coming up, it's election eve, and the Democrats appear to be, well, flat out desperate. We're going to explain the new lows that they have hit in order to influence voters at the polls. And coming up, Tucker Carlson, Dennis Kucinich. We'll check in with Dr. Ben Carson. They're here with analysis. And then later, Duck Dynasty is headed to Washington. The one and only Phil Robertson drops by, along with his nephew, who is running for office, to explain tomorrow's outcome and why people should vote for godly men. That's all straight ahead.
Yeah, we just